It is not Manmohan Singh, Modi versus Manmohan Singh. Manmohan is gone. And this is the Prime Minister paying tribute to a previous Prime Minister, which is also paying tribute to the seat of the chair of the Prime Minister. Don't forget, the authority of the Prime Minister. If he didn't do that, he would actually reduce his own authority. Secondly, you must remember that Mr. Modi is a past master of judging public opinion. He has shown this in the last 10 years, and he has this uncanny knack of doing the right thing at the right time. Also keeping quiet when it suits him, in spite of the fact that he ought to be speaking up, as in the case of the Manipur riots. So he chose to go. You're asking me whether Mr. Modi was doing this for the public, or whether he felt anything. The answer is he was doing it for the public. But in fairness to him, and I try to be fair, although I don't like his regime at all. The thing is, in fairness to him, it must be said that he couldn't do otherwise. He couldn't do otherwise as Prime Minister. He had a duty to do this, and he performed it. It doesn't mean that he felt there was any change, or there was any remorse, or that there was any second thoughts, or that he's learned anything for that matter from Dr. Manmohan Singh. He has not. All references, denigrating references to Modi will disappear. You will find, on the contrary, a few grudging, just sufficient, appreciation of him to show that, well, we are not completely out of step. I've never met in my life, I've known him pretty much the whole of my life, a kinder, more considerate man than he. He was that before he was the Prime Minister. He was that after he became Prime Minister. And he was that after he left the Prime Ministership. He didn't change at all.
Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. The 14th Prime Minister of India, Dr. Manmohan Singh, is no more. He died at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences late last evening. His contribution to the development of India can't be described in words, but India apparently can never have another technocrat prime minister. Now, he'll always be remembered as an honest man, a great economist, and a leader who dedicated himself to reforms. As an economist, he provided a lot of services to the nation, and during the challenging time, he served as the RBI governor when he was a finance minister in the cabinet of P.V. Narasimha Rao. He gave the country that was reeling under economic crisis a new direction in terms of the economy. But when you compare Prime Minister Manmohan Singh with Prime Minister Modi, and of course, people were wondering whether Modi will really put out a tweet, whether he'll visit. But we saw visuals of Prime Minister Modi and, of course, Amit Shah right there at the residence of Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and paying condolences to the departed Prime Minister. But there's a lot of outpouring on social media. There is a comparison being made with Prime Minister Modi and Dr. Manmohan Singh. People are talking about how Prime Minister Manmohan Singh was lampooned, he was caricatured. And what would one say to those people now? Will their conscience break? We're going to talk about all this. And I have a very special guest this evening with me, author, veteran journalist, political commentator, and advisor to former Prime Minister VP Singh, Mr. Prem Shankar Jha, this evening with us. So thank you so much for joining. And let me inform the viewers that Mr. Prem Shankar Jha also was lucky enough to spend some time with Prime Minister Manmohan Singh when he was at Oxford. So we'll also discuss about those memories as well. Once again, thank you so much, sir, for joining. And I'll begin with talking about those memories which you have of Manmohan Singh when he was at Oxford. And what was that interaction like?
Well, it was the interaction between a young undergraduate and and a much more mature postgraduate student. Dr. Manmohan Singh was there for his DPhil after having already done his PhD at Cambridge, or got his PhD. And the DPhil is somewhat more highly regarded, the Oxford DPhil. So he wanted that also, and he'd come to Nuffield College, which is a college for postgraduate students. And I happened to go visit somebody I knew there, and I bumped into Dr. Manmohan Singh literally in the passage, him coming out, me going in, and of course two Indians in the city at that time, which had very few Indians. Actually, the whole of Oxford University had only about 90 undergraduate and postgraduate students at that time. So we began talking. Then he began asking me. He was absolutely, he just arrived. He I wanted to know the basics of how one survives. And so where's the laundry, where's the post office, where's the nearest cinema, a good restaurant, and so on. And so I took him for a walk around Oxford, and we ended up in the university parks. And we had a long walk. We talked for about an hour and a half, and he was quite delightful and completely he was just he was a distinguished scholar already in Cambridge because he had won the Adam Smith Prize, it's the economics prize in Cambridge, and the Webb Medley Prize is in Oxford. And he had won that, and he had written his book on India's foreign trade. And I think that he was probably working to take it further when he was at Oxford. But it's a chance meeting, but we continue to meet through the rest of our lives.
Right. Mr. Jha, this morning when everyone saw Prime Minister Modi paying tributes to Manmohan Singh, there was a lot of outcry on the social media. Not that people didn't want him to go, but people were wondering that was he forced to go because he didn't have an option. After, and especially a prime minister who's lampooned, who's caricatured Prime Minister Manmohan Singh so much, and at the end of and at the fag end of his life, that same prime minister is forced to pay tributes to the man, on whom he has been surviving politically, basically criticizing, pooning, making a joke out of it. What would you really say to a moment like this? What is this moment for Prime Minister Modi? This death of Manmohan Singh, what does it mean for Prime Minister Modi, actually, according to you?
Well, first of all, I think that, this his going there was entirely appropriate because it is not Manmohan Singh, Modi versus Manmohan Singh. Manmohan is gone, and this is the Prime Minister paying tribute to a previous Prime Minister, which is also paying tribute to the seat of the chair of the Prime Minister. Don't forget, the authority of the Prime Minister. If he didn't do that, he would actually reduce his own authority, and with the people who matter most. That's number one. Secondly, you must remember that Mr. Modi is a past master of judging public opinion. And he has shown this in the last 10 years. And he has this uncanny knack of doing the right thing at the right time. Also keeping quiet when it suits him, in spite of the fact that he ought to be speaking up, as in the case of the Manipur riots. So he chose to go, and one must also remember that this is not a tribute just to Dr. Manmohan Singh. It's also a tribute to the fact that he was Prime Minister of India. So to that extent, if Modi had not gone, he would have denigrated his own position. And he understood that. Last of all, just 1 second more. Nobody forces the Prime Minister to go anywhere. Straight away, let's not use the word force in this case at all. But lastly, I think that Prime Minister Modi understands that if he does not do this, he will suffer more than if he does, because that is his political acumen. He would be criticized even more severely for not going than for going. In fact, you can't criticize him for going, but you could criticize him if he didn't go.
True. But what would you really say to those people who made fun of Prime Minister Manmohan Singh? That, he was a silent prime minister, and now when you see the legacy is so loud, people understood it at when he was a prime minister. People who knew what he was doing, they were justified of what he was doing. But now that he is no more, and the legacy is so visible, not only within the domestic environs, but globally also, the way the people are reacting to Manmohan Singh's death. Do you think that BJP, Stroll Army, Prime Minister Modi, Amit Shah, JP Nadda, will they really reawaken to a new moment that at least up to Samhal Jao? Is that moment going to dawn on them?
Yes, of course, definitely. They are seasoned politicians. I can guarantee you now that all references, denigrating references to Modi will disappear. You will find, on the contrary, a few grudging, just sufficient, appreciation of him to show that, well, we are not completely out of step. They go to, the idea is to disarm the opposition to themselves. And they will do anything to do that, including praise the devil if it's necessary. In this case, it's only praising Dr. Manmohan Singh, who deserves praise. So it's very easy to do. And again, once again, I'll tell you, it's what, if they keep quiet, it would be the most dignified thing to do. Prime Minister Modi has visited, and he has expressed his sorrow and sympathy. After that, they should keep absolutely quiet. If they don't, they will only damage their own party. And from my point of view, since I'm not a supporter of Mr. Modi's BJP, I would be perfectly happy if they cut their own throats. But the fact is, they won't. They're very sharp, extremely sharp politically, and you will see that they will not do that.
But when you bring in these comparisons, when you try and compare Prime Minister Modi with Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, do you think that comparison is justified, or that comparison is just too baseless?
Well, they were both prime ministers of India, so comparison is inevitable. But their mode of operation is completely, it's night and day, poles apart, North Pole and South Pole. Dr. Manmohan Singh has told me more than once that he couldn't move faster on several things that we had talked about, and in which had made some kind of a contribution prior to the 2004 elections, which we discussed earlier. When I asked him, why couldn't you move ahead on these things when you had put them in the common minimum program? And one of them, for example, was state financing of elections. And he said to me, I raised this issue in the Congress Working Committee, and I didn't get a single vote from the 22 members present. I asked him, did that include Mrs. Sonia Gandhi? He said, yes, but he just said that I don't think that Mrs. Gandhi had been put in the picture of what the consequences of not doing it would be. It was just a question he raised, and there was no he was feeling the waters, and he found that there was no support. So he dropped this thing. I wish he hadn't, because it is the single most important policy reform we need. But it's not an economic area that. Dr. Manmohan Singh was much stronger on the economy. He was extremely good on foreign policy. Many people have already said so, and you doubtless on your other programs also. But Dr. Manmohan Singh, he was not a manipulator. He had to have consensus. He believed in consensus because
when you say that no, when you say that.
Why don't you let me finish my sentence, please? Just once. Yeah. He had a consensus, then that policy would endure. If you don't have a consensus, it will not endure. You go and it will disappear. It will disappear, or it can disappear.
Yeah. No, I wanted to ask you that when you said that Dr. Manmohan Singh was not a manipulator, but does the same thing go for Modi as well? Because we are doing a comparison here.
Between Modi and Manmohan Singh on this? No, I mean, it's again a comparison between day and night. In political terms, Dr. Manmohan Singh was and remained an innocent. Mr. Modi is a past master of politics, but nothing else.
Right.
Literally nothing else. He doesn't understand the economy. He makes rash promises. He jumped the gun on devaluation. I mean demonetization. He's made mistake after mistake after mistake. He's made promises that any economist would have told him he could never meet. 20 million jobs is going to create per year, he said. It's completely out of the question. The actual number being created was 7.5 million. Sorry, yes. So, the thing is, without data, without having done any background work, Modi would make these statements, and for a little time they carried. But then people saw the disappointment and the reaction. Now, in the case of Dr. Manmohan Singh, there's no reaction because every single thing he did was done in the public sphere through a process of consultation, even antagonistic consultation, as in the case of the nuclear deal. And only after he had gone through that, complete the thing, and every single thing he has done has lasted. The pity of it is that there are a couple of things he was on the point of achieving: peace with Pakistan, lasting solution in Kashmir, which he missed by a hair's breadth, and that is the tragedy of India.
Right. But do you think that all this condolence, of course, he had to do it, and he had his own reasons why Modi went and paid the condolence. But do you think that this was also a kind of a put-up show, before the cameras as well? Because you knew that, the entire focus today, the world's focus is on Manmohan Singh. And therefore, if he doesn't go, then, how will people, conclude about him? So was that a reason? So basically his condolence and Modi's tribute were a show for camera.
You're asking me whether Mr. Modi was doing this for the public, or whether he felt anything. The answer is he was doing it for the public. But in fairness to him, and I try to be fair, although I don't like his regime at all. The thing is, in fairness to him, it must be said that he couldn't do otherwise. He couldn't do otherwise as Prime Minister. He had a duty to do this, and he performed it. It doesn't mean that he felt there was any change, or there was any remorse, or that there was any second thoughts, or that he's learned anything for that matter from Dr. Manmohan Singh. He has not. He's always been supremely sure that he knows that he's doing the right thing for him, and therefore automatically for the country and for Hinduism.
But do you ever see a possibility of Modi trying to copy or ape at Manmohan Singh in any manner, any of his ideals, any of his principles? Do you think Modi can really follow the footsteps of Prime Minister Manmohan Singh in any way?
Well, no. The short answer is no. And the long answer is that he doesn't need to. Dr. Manmohan Singh accomplished the reforms. The reforms, he started them very gradually in 1993 with that first budget that he presented. I think the second. The first was an emergency budget in July. The first main budget that he presented in February 28th, 1993. That was where he began the reform process, and the reform process from that point on took a life of its own. But it was gradual. That is why there was no shock. See, there was an alternative theory about how to do economic reforms. It was called shock therapy. Remove all controls immediately, and the market will spring up automatically. Russia tried that and crashed very badly. China and India did not, and we both prospered from the reforms. And that was Dr. Manmohan Singh took 10 years. In fact, it was Vajpayee who completed the reforms of Manmohan Singh when he finally eliminated the reservation of about something like 400 industries for this, which were reserved for the small scale sector. Now there are very few left of that kind. And this process, because it took 10 years, there were no adverse shocks. People had time to adjust. Like the small scale industry, we had an inefficient small scale industry that was meeting all needs. They gradually understood that they could only survive by becoming suppliers of ancillaries and parts to larger companies. and that if they would be in fact more secure if they did that. Those who understood this have survived very well. A few of the originally small scale industry like Hero Motors and so on, Hero Cycles that used to be, they developed and diversified and survived even in the new atmosphere, but most of them survived as subsidiaries of larger companies. And that took time for the mindset to change your equipment, etc. And they were supported in that. And therefore, our shift was painless. And therefore, our growth, as someone said in the previous program of yours, was the growth that we started with Vajpayee, with Dr. Manmohan Singh in 1993, continued almost unbroken till 2012.
Right. But, what would you say to those people who said that Mr. Manmohan Singh, Dr. Manmohan Singh was Manmohan Singh? He's labeled as that quiet prime minister, the silent prime minister. What would you really say to that gang of people, or, to that group of people who labeled Prime Minister Manmohan Singh in this manner? And of course, we need, some would say that, this is not a day to discuss that. But then the point is that, the silent prime minister, whoever called him, has died with such a loud legacy. And shouldn't we be talking about the fact that people have been unfair to Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and too many people?
All I can say is, thank God he was a silent prime minister. Because, empty vessels make a lot of noise. And the drum is the classic example. It's totally empty, otherwise it's not a drum at all. And forgive me, Mr. Modi, if in case you ever come across this program, but you are an empty vessel. You have no ideas of your own. You pick up ideas from the people around you. Some of them are good, some of them are very bad indeed. And by and large, the overall impact has been derogation of Indian democracy to the point where it's almost disappearing now. So I think that this is something that I would, if I were an advisor to Prime Minister Modi, I would say, use the death of Prime Minister Manmohan Singh to think and rethink the strategy that you have adopted in your prime ministership. But I don't expect him to do that because there are other psychological factors here. And I think that is the most important thing that I would learn from Prime Minister Modi's, tenure in office. Apart from that, really, there isn't really much more to say about Modi. There is really no comparison between the two. I think that there's not much one can learn.
Right.
That Modi can learn from Dr. Manmohan Singh, but it's not in his personality to keep quiet and to try and build consensuses around him, and then not speak. Let the decision speak for itself. That's what Manmohan Singh did,
but
and that's why we are praising him today.
Right. I was looking at a lot of clips of Prime Minister Modi, what all he said about Manmohan Singh today on the Twitter, which is now X, of course. Then there were lots of clips of Nirmala Sitharaman, who was a finance minister, and one of the clips which is going quite viral, where she's saying, I don't want to be, thank God I'm not Manmohan Singh, I cannot be Manmohan Singh. And the clip is quite viral today. And people are questioning that, look, this is how shameless you could get. And this is how, the reactions on the social media are coming. Do you think that now there could be an effort by the BJP leaders to get those clips weeded out of the YouTube so that, the future generations don't see them as critics of Prime Minister Manmohan Singh?
They may well do so. Frankly, I don't watch this kind of. I certainly don't go on X at all. I don't even have it. I don't want to. I just don't have the time to be reading what others are saying endlessly because I want to write myself. I need time to work on my own thoughts, not other people's thoughts. And but the thing is that I don't think these what I might call the hyper short media, as distinct from your media and the YouTube channel medias, that they have any lasting effect at all. They are just babble. It's a sort of a babble of noise in the background, And some people are comfortable with babble, but others are not. And decision makers usually are not comfortable with babble. They don't listen to this stuff. And I don't think we should take anything on X or even Facebook, which is the least babbling of the web or the babblers. Take it seriously.
Right. Okay, so Mr. Jha, I'll conclude the program with your last thoughts on Manmohan Singh. What is the kind of void which he has left in India and across the world? And what would you like to say towards the end? Yes.
I think I would like to say only one thing. One thing only. I've never met in my life, I've known him pretty much the whole of my life, a kinder, more considerate man than he. He was that before he was the Prime Minister. He was that after he became Prime Minister. And he was that after he left the Prime Ministership. He didn't change at all. And I want to give you one more anecdote, personal anecdote about him to tell you what I think. Sometime, it was when he was Finance Minister, because I was writing strongly in favor of the liberalization. I saw quite a lot of him. And I think on the first or second time that I met him, he said to me, he asked me how my father was, and I told him that I'm afraid that he's well, still at only 1993, and my father died 5 years later. He said, well, I remember him very well, and then I said, but how, why, I wondered, why is he telling me this in such a personal way? Then he said, I haven't forgotten the tea you invited me to at Oxford to meet him when he came there. Now the thing is, I must tell you, my father had been a senior civil servant in the Foreign Service, and he was coming back from something at the United Nations, the Security Council, and he had just stopped in England to see me, and he was coming to Oxford, so I had asked three people. Manmohan was one of them. I had forgotten, but he had not forgotten. That's the difference. That's the difference. He was a man who never lost his humility.
Absolutely.
And therefore, never lost his sense of proportion about the decisions he was making. He concentrated on the main decisions. And when he couldn't get everything he wanted through, for example, I gave the example of the state financing, which he very strongly believed in. He wouldn't make that an issue. He'd go on to what could be done.
Absolutely. Fond memories there of Dr. Manmohan Singh, but truly, what a man and what a scintillating journey as a Prime Minister. 10 years of golden period, which he gave to the country, and now he's no more. But of course, India can never have another Dr. Manmohan Singh, surely. Thank you so much, Mr. Jha. It was wonderful to have you on the program. Thank you. Thank you
I
so
hope
much.
not. That was your last remark. India needs another Manmohan Singh, and very quickly.
Okay. So I'll end up with your quote that India needs another Dr. Manmohan Singh. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Stay ahead with our cutting edge news app. Instantly access the latest shorts in just 1 minute and breaking news in just 50 words. Download now for a smarter, faster news experience.